right. Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Lee, and I will be your host for today. And with me is one of the Reader's Magnet's featured author, and he will be sharing to us what this book is all about, him as an author, and of course, what inspired him to write this book. So, everyone, let's all welcome our one and only Mr. Raul Cuero, author of the book. The COVID Ghost Came. All
Okay,
right. Hello, Mr. Cuero. Yes, welcome to the interview. How are you doing today?
very well. Thank you so much for giving me the window to share with the public uh, some of the most concerned issue of contemporary time,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic of COVID.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
myself, as a scientist, especially microbiology, that's what I am, um, and also as a person who is very perceptive about the anthropological situations on society. Uh, as I have written so many books in those different areas of society, despite myself being a scientist, books on fear and courage, we were just recently published um, in Amazon, distributed by Amazon this year. And in fact, I wrote that book because the horror and the apocalyptic effect the pandemic of COVID induced in society. So I wrote a whole book about fear.
Mm-hmm.
But but at the same time, this fear was beyond the common fear. This fear was in certain people, I would say, really instigate and brought out the most intimate uh, uh, sense of fear in the population with death. But I could see that in my understanding of society, the fear was more related to the lack of knowledge or information or the fundamentals, basically the basic fundamentals of the virus which caused the disease, as well as how the disease is spread, more in fact
Right.
than the disease itself. So I noticed that people were using irrational approaches, which in terms of ritualistic, in terms of fetishism, rather than using knowledge-based approach. And but one of the things that I noticed is that even people with some kind of education, they were afraid in talking about something that really didn't understand and running away from something that they didn't know. That gave me the opportunity to give the name of the book COVID Ghost Game, because the COVID was like a ghost, in which, we always are afraid of the ghost, something that we don't know. So that is one of the few times in society, in modern society, in which we confront a real unknown and we don't know how to deal. In my experience as a scientist that I am, an inventor, I realized who had to use my perception of the unknown, who has survived many diseases, have
Mm-hmm.
survived many calamities in my life as an unknown. The only way that I survive all these or confront these challenges of the unknown was through knowledge. And that's what I want to
Mm-hmm.
share in this book, fundamental of knowledge. People don't have to be a scientist to understand how this pandemic is spread, nor how this virus is 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 acquired in different person or presence in the environment or even in the host. That means we. And But we live today in a society. We have made so much progress in technology and also in a society of information driven, but nevertheless, it seems that we are skipping the fundamentals. What are the
Mm-hmm.
fundamentals of understanding science in nature? Science and nature, they're intertwined, they are interdependent. So all what we have to know is to go to the basics. But for that, but in order to understand that relationship of science in nature, we must invest time trying to get the fundamentals and also to invest in opportunity, to find opportunities to better
Right.
understanding to basic knowledge.
Wow, that is very amazing, Mr. Quero. I mean, I really like how you created this book. Instead of just, I mean, beside of just sharing about the things that you know about microorganisms, as a microbiologist, it's also another way of you educating people to really understand, to really have that knowledge about this health diseases, about the pandemic, the COVID-19. And you know what? Yes. I totally get, because you mentioned earlier, because sometimes health risks can be, really confusing, but they are important to understand. Knowing the risk you face can also help you find ways to also avoid health problems, right? And especially on how to deal with this situation, the pandemic, on how to take care of oneself. I mean, wow, this is very amazing.
Yes,
Book, Mr. Quero.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
in fact, following what you said induced me to share with the public that
Right.
information not necessarily give you a power to understand things.
Exactly.
You
Mm-hmm.
have to, but also learning is not just to get information. Learning
Mm-hmm.
is to integrate uh, concepts and facts toward solutions or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the reason what I realized that even people with education, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have any basics to understand the virus still until today, or understand the variants, or understand the RNA and the DNA. So for that purpose, I developed a survey on the population, a small survey, asking people what they understand by DNA. Because in contemporary era, most people should know about the DNA. As much
Right.
as people know for a long time what H2O is. They say water. Even a kid, 6 years old kid, you draw the formula H2O, they know it's water. So we should have the same kind of understanding for DNA. However, the
Mm-hmm.
survey demonstrates that people have only a memorized meaning of DNA without understanding. People say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the DNA is nothing but the molecule heritage. That's the one who tell us what we are made of. But they never related to the disease.
Mm-hmm.
9 out of 10 persons didn't relate the DNA to the disease. So this is not complicated. This is easy. So I say, perhaps people themselves, it's not people's fault, perhaps. It's because sometimes we people who studied this kind of diseases or knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
we have to have a better way to present it. That's when I came out with the idea to develop
Right.
a very creative didactic approach in a humorous way in terms of the narrative in drawing.
Mm-hmm.
It-
Oh, so there are also illustrations in your book, Mr. Quero?
everything is illustration and the best way.
Wow.
When you
Yeah, for the
illustrate,
people to make it more understandable. Wow,
yes,
that is amazing.
correct. For people who don't
Such
have,
a creative way of creating, these types of books. Wow. That is awesome, Mr. Quero. Mm-hmm.
yes, yes, and
So
also
there are a lot of
we have to remember that today we have a what we call a visual society due to the media,
right. Mm-hmm.
and so the best way is to portray this kind of novel thing or information or unknown through humorous um, drawing and legend. That's what I create some characters. I humanize the virus because I remember when I was a child.
Amazing.
When I was a
Hmm.
child, I didn't have any mentor or any person to illustrate me. So any knowledge that I was trying to learn, I was kind of what the people call an early child. And I want to know things. No, I didn't know the language. I didn't know those
Uh-huh.
this vocabulary. And so
Hmm.
the first thing that I did was, if I saw a bird, I tried to make myself as a bird. If I saw a cloud, I tried to become a cloud. So that was the best thing. And also that have been used by some other people, that type of tactic. So I created
Hmm.
this virus because the virus, different from other biological entity, is nothing
Hmm.
but molecules, proteins, 3, 4 layers of proteins. That's what the virus is. You never see it. And so when you see an insect,
True.
you have a
Hmm.
perception because we grow up in a world of knowing things, seeing form, size.
Hmm.
But the virus, you never see it. And also the virus doesn't have any cellular structure. So it's very difficult
Right.
for people to imagine what the virus is. So that's
Hmm.
why I came out to humanize it, and make it so that way people can perceive, create a receptor for learning. Because when you are into the unknown,
Exactly.
you have to build up a receptor. Once you build up the
Hmm.
receptor, then you get the knowledge. This is very creative. So I made the virus as a human, and I gave names like a Momo, Cyber, and I had the other one, Diamond, and it's
Uh-huh.
very funny,
That's interesting.
yeah, but without jeopardizing the validity of science. But, and
They're still science, of
so
course.
that's the main thing. And also, what I was trying to do in the book was also to present a, an approach in which young people and adults
Hmm.
perceive science in a natural way.
Wow. So all generations can have this.
Yes.
Mm,
And I have
that's nice.
seen
Wow, that's awesome.
many young people who have read my book, they say,
Hmm.
"Oh, Dr. Cuero, I enjoyed that book, but I learned so much.
Right.
And now I
Hmm.
thought I was going to be a lawyer, but now I want to be a scientist after reading your book." And I see
That's that's amazing, Mr. Quero. And you know what? Yeah, especially that there are also illustrations that can be seen on your book. I mean, this
that.
is also somehow very helpful for parents to start introducing their kids what is the virus all about, what are the diseases, what are the things that they can do. Understanding health risk is really the key to making your own health care decisions. So you're really making it very easy for them to understand. Wow.
It's good what you say about health risk. That's fantastic.
Hmm.
What happened is in the spread of the virus, we must understand three things. That's what we call
Hmm.
it. We call it pandemic. It is under
Pandemic, yes.
what that's we study that under under something that is entitled epidemiology. Anytime that we want to understand a disease, a spread of the disease or spread or any causative
Hmm.
agent, the virus or bacteria perhaps, what we have to do is to use three main uh, references. That is the environment.
Three main references.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we have to look at the environment, the etiological agent, in this case, the virus, as well as the host, that means we, who are parasited by the virus. And
As a human, okay.
but equally. So in the book, I present very well how to use those three references for better understanding of the pandemic. Because you have to understand the
Hmm.
virus, you have to understand the pandemic as well. Those two issues. And that
Right. Especially the.
and that's way make people better prepared for
Hmm.
any possible, pandemic in the future.
Hmm.
more
Exactly. Couldn't agree more on that, Mr. Quer, especially, when it talks about pandemics, because again, pandemics are really large disease that outbreaks that affect several, countries, post major health, social economics risk, even economic risk, right? It can really affect anything. So it is really important for the people to really know and understand what are these things all about. Especially, because there are a lot of things that can be triggered, which is the fear, of even me, you know what? I also remember, Mr. Quer, when I have, because I also got COVID, before, and I was very um stressed and everything. I mean, I'm even thinking that, oh my God, what would happen? Will I die? Of having this kind of diseases. But right now, having these kinds of books, internet, we have Google. It's really helpful, to really know, to really have that knowledge. What are these diseases all about, the pandemic is all about, because it is very important, again, for the people to really understand the diseases, this individual, let's say, heterogeneity. Disease could be due to also genetic. I mean, there's a lot of risk, a lot of reasons why we have these diseases right now. And wow, you did great on this book, Mr. Cuero.
I like I
This
like
is
what
really awesome.
I like what you said, and I want to help people with something. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be a
Right.
scientist. You don't have to. You don't have to be the scientist to
Mm-hmm.
understand the spread of the disease and also of the viruses. You got to understand the fundamental. When you understand the fundamentals, like anything else in the
Mm-hmm.
economy or whatever, then you are able to interpolate things and
Mm-hmm.
rationalize things. But people who doing reasoning without knowledge, reasonings have to be based also in facts and knowledge. And this,
Mm-hmm.
but the knowledge has to be aligned with our perception as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
People never have perception as a human being. I can see in most cases about this particular virus. Uh,
Virus. Mm-hmm.
and that's what I
Which is
humanize.
a COVID-19.
How I
Mhm,
humanize it. For instance, you could see in some part of the book when Momo
mhm,
to be one of the young viruses, very intelligent,
mhm,
and there is another virus who is very old, he's about 120 years old. That means that he survived the pandemic of the 1918,
wow.
1919.
Mhm,
And he discussed how he survived until today to the young viruses. Okay, so the young viruses learn from the old viruses. It's kind of very nice, funny dialogue. So people get to see certain things. The young virus, for instance, Momo, asked the old virus, dinosaur, how do you manage to survive? So then people start learning how variants were produced, how variants are produced
mhm.
without having to crack their head in trying to understand the genetic of it.
Right, right. Yeah, and thank you so much for that, Mr. Quer, and also, for really choosing us to be part of this platform of yours, not just sharing your experience as, for your love of science, my studying, microorganisms, microbiologists. Wow, this is really such another way of really, because again, your book is really advocating for a specific cause and agenda. And thank you so much for that, Mr. Quero. And here, one more thing, Mr. Quero, what do you want your readers to take away after reading your book,
I
or
said,
let's say,
okay,
what will you tell to people who would like to read your book? Yeah, that would be the
myself, I'm a doctor and a PhD in microbiology myself, but also I'm a person who is very keen in understanding society. Uh,
hmm
that's the reason why I have traveled throughout the world. I've been all over the world and constantly traveling. Uh, that's also why I wrote this book, was causing with about this pandemic, who caused terror and fear in people. All I want people is to perceive this book as a help for dealing with the unknown, including pandemics and this virus,
Mhm.
and see the approach that I present, that to unlock the unknown by reading, by sharing knowledge with people. So I want people to understand that the only way that you feel comfortable, that you reduce fear, is by having basic fundamental knowledge. I want people to say
Basic fundamental knowledge.
basic, not just using, not only they using it, this ritualistic approach that never works. And the other part that I want people to understand is that new knowledge, a new natural issue like the virus, is
Mhm.
an opportunity for us to expand our understanding not only of ourselves, but understanding of nature. This is the greatest opportunity that we have now. But when we come into the knowledge, fear is reduced to zero. I never got scared about this particular disease. I never got scared because I understand basic knowledge. And when
Mhm.
you understand basic knowledge, you accept the outcome of whatever happened, but based on knowledge. And at the same time, when you have the knowledge, you help society to prevent further spread of diseases. You are more cautious, you are very conscious. But if you are not, even when sometimes you are conscious, but if you don't have any knowledge, that doesn't mean anything. So all I want people is two things: to make sure that they invest time and also mind
Mhm.
in understanding the unknown. And the other thing is to look at science as something that is part of our own nature, that we have to continually, constantly, and continuously being, being understanding, trying to understand the knowledge of science in a very easy way. Science doesn't belong to specific people. The understanding of science is for everybody. And that's
Right.
what I try to recommend people. Read this book and use this book also that you can apply to other situations. Because this is
Mhm.
not a book only for COVID, but this is applicable to other issues that we confront, that we have a situation.
Wow.
That's the beauty
Mhm.
of this book. Yeah, and it is fun. When you have the knowledge, life is fun, it's enjoyable. There is no any fear anymore. So this is a book which is very, very humorous and very fundamental of, with a lot of fundamental of knowledge, that people should have this basic knowledge. You cannot go to understand, for instance, variants
Mhm.
unless you understand some basic of the biology, including DNA and RNA. And the way I present it here is very approachable, accessible, and easy way, and entertainable.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Quero. And you know what? I love what you mentioned, what you said earlier. Having knowledge is something that gives you the power to also help the society to prevent all of these, things that is happening right now when it comes to diseases, about the pandemic. Because again, having knowledge is really a power. Wow. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
that, Mr. Quero.
but the knowledge, the objective of knowledge is not to memorize information.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. It is not to talk about something that is already established or written.
Mm-hmm.
You
But
feel
it's
the effect of knowledge is when you make that knowledge functional. That means that you're
wow.
able to
Uh-huh.
understand things for people to give solution. and to share with
Right. To really practice it as well.
and
Wow.
that leads you to capacity. What we're missing today is not only necessarily knowledge, but what we're missing today is capacity to use that knowledge toward harmony, toward solution of problems, to the enjoyable of the knowledge. That's his capacity. We that is another level. In this book, that's what the book is giving to people. When
Mhm.
you read this book, you're able to understand anything that had to do with this virus, but throughout your own capacity of reason. Because you build that receptor, I call receptors. And you never can learn anything unless you have a receptor. Receptor means basic foundation for acquiring knowledge. And this is what the book is giving, the basic receptor for people to start acquiring knowledge. The platform, the fundamental, the base.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Quero. That's very well said. And you know what? I must say that your book is really such a powerful, um, book which is created to really help people. Wow. And that's amazing, Mr. Quero. Thank you so much again
It took me, it took
for
me, it took me, about 25 years to develop
25 years. Wow.
no,
Uh-huh.
to develop the didactic approach. Of course, it
Mm.
was not only in the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, it was in something else. But
Right.
it took me to conceive and write this particular book since 2020. And it has been published only now in 2023. It took me, to come up with it. Okay. But the
Wow.
concept
And
took
you
me
did
almost
great on that, Mr.
25
Quero.
years. But the writing took me almost 3 years.
25 years of having all these knowledge practices, right information, and then it took you to 3 years to complete the book.
No, no, no,
Hmm.
no, 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 no. 23 years for conceptualizing the approach, the didactic approach.
Oh, the approach.
Um,
Okay,
the
for the
didactic
people to
approach
for them to easy
based on humorous, uh, easy way for people to understand
easy
this
way. Hmm.
thing. Okay,
Mm,
and
right,
making it
right.
very attractive. But to write the book in this particular aspect, the pandemic was in the 2019, you know.
Hmm.
In the 2020, I started writing about the book, about this pandemic. But before that, I've been conceiving the approach, the didactic approach, and how to make complicated things, complex things, easy to the common public. You understand?
Right.
To
An
the
approachable way. Wow. Hmm.
concept
Yes, got that, Mr.
that
Quero.
can be applied to the climate, can be applied to
Hmm.
the economy, can be applied to anything.
Wow.
The approach,
Right.
the didactic approach.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know what, Mr. Query, you did great on that. You did great on that, and this is really amazing. Okay, thank you so much for that, Mr. Query, and again for choosing Reader's Magnet to be with you in this platform, sharing your story with among as many people. Thank you so much, Mr. Query. And here, before we end the interview, will you please show your book to our viewers one more time, like closer to the camera, so that they would be able to see the,
Really?
interesting cover photo?
Can you see
Okay.
it? Can you see it?
Uh huh.
Can you
Yes,
see
and
it?
there's a lot of illustrations in the book. Wow, that's amazing. Mm-hmm.
Illustration and drawing, artistic drawing and legends.
It is. Wow. Uh-huh. That's
That's
so great.
very humorous. The only way to
Uh-huh.
learn complex thing is to put in the human approach. And one of the human approach is what? Humor.
Humor.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, humor. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Quero. So again, everyone, we have our author here, Mr. Raul Cuero, the author of the book, The COVID Ghost Game. And his book is available on Amazon.com, Barnes& Noble. And please, everyone, let's also do check his website. That's www.raulcuero.com. And you may also follow him on all the social media platform he has. Again, Mr. Cuero, thank you so much. Again, with Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you
Well,
so much, Mr. Quero.
thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with the public this very important, compelling in the
It is, and it's
Terrible Fundamentals
awesome.
book.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Quero.
Bye bye.